Hello Gotham, and welcome back to my channel, that's Shieldwall 100s, for the fourth in our running series of introductory scenarios that I developed on behalf of Knight Models for the Batman Miniatures game. Okay, this is, like I said, the fourth scenario, Closing the Gap, which is available to download now off of the Batman Miniatures game website. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested. I'm hoping that these scenarios will be very useful to learn the rules, and especially so if you picked up the movie tie-in box. But as with all the starter scenarios, feel free, if you have a small collection of models yourselves, to just exchange out the miniatures, the sides even, and just play along with the basic structure of those scenarios, just to see if it helps you to get a grasp of these rules. This game, trust me, is worth learning. I've played an awful lot of games in my time, and this is a good one, a very good one of the best actually for skirmish games that I've ever played. So I really want more people to experience it, in some way, shape or form. Anyway, right, enough of that. Yes, so in this scenario, Batman and Lieutenant Gordon and a few police officers are closing the gap on Carmine Falcone's criminal empire. The Penguin and some of his cohorts have just got off the Capital Metro, heading towards a safe house where they've stashed a bunch of money, drugs, guns, or all of the above. And yes, they're meeting up with some of their additional minions upon the way, and just as the Batman and crew have swooped in. And so yes, a confrontation is somewhat inevitable on these empty streets, deserted, damaged, what have you. Okay, and so that's the scene really. This continues on, as I said, from the previous scenarios, and we're going to be playing. It's actually getting towards a very standard game now. If you've been following along and you've mastered what we've learned so far, then you've learnt almost all the rules. It's just really, just getting an idea, a grip on like the deck management and a few other little extra rules here and there, which we'll go into, and hopefully be really straightforward for you to pick up at this point. If you've worked out how the card scoring system works for the objectives and how you read the objectives and the timing and such, you've really got the biggest part of the game behind you in terms of the difficulty curve. And once you get that down in your head, it's so simple. Trust me. Practice makes perfect. And it's a really, a little bit of practice in this gives you everything you need to know. So that's pretty cool. Okay, as you can see, I've actually set up the models. So according to the scenario specifics, I've actually gone ahead, done all the bits and pieces, in terms of putting the models out. I'll show you. So you've got Batman and Gordon and 1, 2, 3 police officers joining him. The Penguin crew is deployed inside their deployment zone, which is an 8 by 16 inch rectangle on the side. Using the measuring sticks from the box game, you actually can set that out. Actually, I found out. So there you go. Just thought I'd give you a demonstration of that. Yeah. So you got the twins, a couple of the bouncers, and the Penguin here, all in nice protect me range. Remember, the Penguin can throw his minions in front of oncoming attacks. You've got the Mafia thug who deploys up to 8 inches outside. And Detective Kenzie over here, a cop so corrupt he can't even play on the cop's side. Some of the corrupt cops can actually, be employed by the Batman crew anyway, for their good days, I guess. But yeah, not this one. Detective Kenzie is bad to the core, and yeah, so he only works on organised crime side. Right, yes, and he has the hidden rule, so after everyone else is deployed, he could deploy anywhere out of line of sight of the Batman crew. So he went over here. Maybe a little foolish, but I wanted to demonstrate the rule. It's an important one to get the idea of. There are some, models with the hidden trait in the game, and they have wildly varying capabilities. So you'll see, hopefully this will be a good demonstration, or it could put him in a very isolated position. It's a tactical choice, and I wanted to demonstrate it here. Okay, the light sources have been deployed on the board. Okay, you saw how these worked in the last game. I don't anticipate great things from them this time, because again, there's not a huge amount of guns in this starter box really, but yeah, don't let that distract you from their importance in other games. If you've got like some other models on the board with like sniper rifles and such, they can really turn things. Okay, the placement of them can be pivotal. Next, we've also got, you'll see a new set of markers. We've got the sewer markers, and there's 4 of these out, and these are placed out after the street lights are done, but in exactly the same manner. Okay, so they have to be dotted around. And what these things do is, if you imagine them as teleporters, that's how they work. In the old rules of the game, in like first edition, I'm sorry for the light reflection there. In the first edition, they used to be put out, and you had to spend a turn in the sewers if you used one, and then you could pop out anywhere. Now you've got a bit more of a condensed game in third edition. There's only 4 turns, so they're more or less instant transmission. And the way you use them is basically you move a model into base contact with one, and then you manipulate the sewer marker. Remember, manipulate is a type of tactical action. You should, if you've been playing along, you should be familiar with these terms by now. So yes, a manipulate in SO is one where you put down or pick up or put down a suspect marker, that kind of thing. Okay, manipulating a sewer marker, however, allows you to place your model in contact with any other sewer marker. So Bedoingi, or Bedoingi in this situation. Okay, yeah. So pretty important, if you can imagine. Of course, using your tactical action does mean that you're not usually coming up and attacking, usually, because you've used your tactical action. So yeah, use with care, basically. It's very easy to turn up right next to an opponent, think, haha, got you, and then just get pummeled by him. So that's a start, that's sort of a beginner's mistake. But yeah, having instant teleports is really good. It does mitigate some of the slower crews, and it just keeps the game flowing a bit better, because not everyone gets bunched up in one area of the board. I think you might have seen that in the last scenario, scenario 3. I think everyone started to end up sort of concentrating in the same part of the board, and it can happen, but the sewer markers help to mitigate that problem. Okay, so it keeps things spread out, keeps things flowing. It's a spread out skirmish game tends to work better, to my mind, than one where both crews just crunch into each other in one part of the table. Anyway, enough of my rambling on. Okay, so so that's sewer markers explained, so to speak. We'll be using those. Incidentally, unlike streetlights, you can't destroy sewer markers, at least not in the normal run of the rules. So yeah, there you go. One last thing I wanted to go on to before we sort of get back into the on with the scenario, so to speak, is a word on the game. As in the scenario, it says you can use any set of terrain that you so happen to have, and I'm not just putting out a big spread to flex or anything. I actually wanted to show off what sort of things you can do, because I know from doing different periods of historical wargaming and fantasy wargaming and science fiction wargaming and modern sort of wargaming, you see, that you can, collecting scenery for it can be a big part of whether or not you choose to dive in or not. And thinking of, doing like modern streets is kind of that surely gives me a lot of things to buy and whatnot. But no, it can be done reasonably simply. I mean, this board, just looking at the tiles I've got with the roads on, that's completely optional. You can get game mats now, really nicely done, and they'll double up for Warhammer 40,000 quite easily most of the time, and other games. Okay, I actually got this set of boards really ultimately for zombie gaming, because I was kind of into that at one point, and it's funny how many things you can use these boards for. I mean, people can use them for Judge Dredd or Walking Dead or all sorts of things, Also, the different types of building and just like drop down scenery, you can go from anything from, at the top here I've got some buildings made from actual purposed kits. So the Capital Metro, etc., is from TT Combat. Sorry. These are literally pre-printed, just glued together buildings from the what they call the xlc.co.uk. I've got a how to build Gotham video on my channel. If you look it up, you'll find their contact details in here and their website. These are super because they're so quick, and quickness is a virtue. The drop down scenery comes from all over the place, but you can also, you've got these pre-purposed kits which are damned useful, in various stages of being ready to put together. They're quite cheap. You can also just these cars and from eBay. This is from Poundland of all things. Super cheap, just resprayed and painted. So scenery soup can be, you can get it from a multiple variety of places, all the way up to things where if you want to go the whole hog, you can do this thing in my park, which I really quite like. Probably not doing anything it's like again because it was a big old project. You have to be a bit of passion for it. But yeah, comprising of elements of various kits, some 3D printed trees which I got again from eBay, and all sorts of things. But yeah, it makes a little good, makes a really good focus point, good focus point for your board. Okay, so yeah, just to say, you can do all sorts of things and it doesn't have to be expensive or time consuming. There are easy options for all of this, and yeah, it's totally worth it if you ask me. Okay, and you'll be surprised at what else you can use it for. All right, anyway, enough of that. I've been rattling on. The intro for this game has lasted 10 minutes and a bit so far, so let's get on to the game itself. I'll be back in just a second with the next stage. Okay, just one last thing to do really, to be honest, is to draw our hand of objective cards. So what you do is you take all the deck for your respective crews, either Batman or Organised Crime, you shuffle them well, you add in the cards for the Batman and the Penguin into their respective decks as well, because they are specific characters who have specific cards which you can pop in as and when. So you have a deck of 21 cards each, and yes, shuffle it all good together and then draw a hand of 4 cards before the game starts. Alright, from that you can look at those cards, see what you do or don't like the look of in terms of what you think you can score. Some will be familiar to you if you play Scenario 3, some will be brand new, so take some time to get an idea as to how they work. And yeah, you can hand in or discard up to any of those cards and redraw once. Okay, so you'll have a hand of 4 cards, hopefully a little bit of control over what you get. Okay, nice and straightforward, and that will be how you get on. Okay, so for example, for the Batman crew, I drew one of the cards as non-lethal ammo. There you go, you can read that in your own time. Basically, I didn't like the look of it too much, we're a bit too far away for the pistols to be much use at this stage, so I handed it in to draw another one, hoping to get that lovely snitch card or whatever. Anyway, that's that. Yes, so that's that. We've got one other thing we need to look at. You see that we didn't use the white boxes. I'll bring up Message Job as an example. We didn't use the white boxes at the bottom of the cards underneath the scoring criteria. These are what's called the resources of the card. Okay, and you can see it's got a cost. There's a little lightning bolt symbol with a 1 next to it. That's the cost in resources you need to play it. You have 3 resource points per turn to spend. You top yourself back up to 3 at the beginning of each turn. Nice and simple. So you've got a maximum of 3 to spend each turn. And yes, much like objectives, you can play 1 card as a resource per model's activation, and when you do so, it has the effect as on the card. So for Message Job, as you can see, you use it when you're making an attack action and your opponent is at -1 defense, so they have less dice to defend with if you're punching them in close combat, and whether it's shooting or whatever, they're 1 point easier to hit. Very straightforward. As with the objectives, some cards are easier to understand things to do than others. So there you go, it's something you get used to. They're generally quite themed and they add a little bit of spice to the crews. Okay, and that's how you do it. Okay, why would you use resources when you should be scoring points to win? Well, sometimes you can't score the card right now and you just want to get rid of it, so that's a handy way of cycling the deck. Other times you'll just need that little bit of extra oomph to do it. Okay, to do something you really need to do. They might aid you in the scoring of other cards, for example, or lots of different things. Okay, the concept of cycling the deck, i.e. getting rid of cards that you don't want in your hand to draw new ones, is an important thing to concentrate on in the Batman miniatures game as you become more advanced as a player. You really want to have the ability to get rid of cards that you don't want at a given time, to cycle through the cards that you can score and come back to the other ones later. Okay, so any traits that you've got on your crews which allow you to get rid of cards to redraw, because that is worth mentioning, that you always have a hand of 4 cards, so as you play them or discard them or score them or whatever, you are picking up back up to 4 cards straight away. So there's none of this waiting till the end of the turn to draw 4 more cards or anything like that. You always have a hand of 4 cards. So if you can get rid of them, if you don't think you're going to be able to score them anytime soon, they're taking up valuable hand real estate, it's a good idea to do so. And a lot of the good models in this game, a lot of the unsung heroes perhaps, will have traits that let you cycle through the deck to get to ones you do want away from ones you don't. Okay? Anyway, so other than that, at the beginning, before the take the lead phase of round 1, GCPD Officer 1 here used his scout trait to move up here, so that's him all together done and dusted. We're going to go into round 1 now, and I'll see you in just a moment. Okie dokie, right, phase 1 and 2 completed of the first round, so that's take the lead and raise the plan phases are both now done. What happened is that in the take the lead phase, neither side had any cards to play at that particular point, but we did do the initiative roll, and at a 6-3 win, the Batman crew is going to be getting the initiative this turn. Okay, in the second phase, the Batman crew did have a card to play. Here's their hand, incidentally. They have the Evidence Mounts, which is the Batman's card, following the clues, a snitch, lovely, and unveiling the truth there. Okay. Unveiling the Truth is played in the second phase, so there you go. They just did that. They're playing it on the Batman. Okay, if you look at what the card entails, that's the instructions. They have to pick a model with a detective trait, and he does, so there you go. He synchronizes particularly well with it due to the traits on his card, which you'll have probably noticed in previous games when we used him. You're wondering what that means? Well, here you know. This is the trait that synchronizes with that particular objective card. Anyway, he's got that card played on him, and immediately upon playing it, they've gone down to a hand of 3, so they draw another one, and they go up to a hand of 4 again. So straight away, even though he hasn't scored Unveiling the Truth yet, he is actually it's been played, it's out of the hand, so they pick up again to 4 cards straight away. Okay, just to give you an idea. So there you are. The Organised Crime crew unfortunately have no cards that played in the second phase either, so they're stuck on their starting hand of 4 cards as it is. And we'll just go to who's got Audacity. So pretty straightforward for the Batman crew. They've got 5 models, so 1 model doesn't have it. They've got the Batman, the cop here, Lieutenant Gordon, and Officer Martinez. Okay, the guy at the front here did not have Audacity. He's determined he doesn't need it. For the Organised Crime crew, with 7 models, they've got a bit more choice. They went with the Penguin because it's always good to give your boss Audacity because he's got more, generally has more to do with it. The twin with his hands down there got it. The Mafia Thug and Detective Kenzie also have Audacity. Okay, so they're going to get their full suite of actions, whereas the guys without Audacity will only have 1 action this turn, most likely. Okay, so that is that. We're about to go into the execute the plan phase, the third phase, where things will start to go, and the Batman crew has the initiative. So off we go. Well, wasting no time, the Batman crew activated GCPD Officer 1. He doesn't have Audacity, so he could only do one thing, and his one thing to do was take a tactical action, manipulate action, and put down a suspect marker, which he has played Snitch on. So we've seen that before from the last activation, from the last scenario. It's going to stay in play till the end of this round, so he's put that into play, and immediately upon doing so, they go from having 3 cards to having 4 cards, and they draw a non-lethal ammunition card. So there you go, so that's their new hand. Okay, that's what we're playing with. Very fast activating, and yes, a statement of intent, because it's hard to, in order to stop that one, the Organised Crime crew have to cover an awful lot of ground, which they probably won't do. So Batman crew coming out, tempting the Organised Crime crew to come forward, but hey, there you go. Right, that's that, and we're going to move back now to the Penguin, the Organised Crime crew. Well, okay, bear with me. If you can just stick through this particular activation, then you can follow just about everything the game has, because it's about as complicated as it comes, so buckle yourselves in. As you can see, we activated Mafia Cop. He was originally over here. I've left his Audacity marker in situ just so we know, okay? He starts his activation. Now, right, one of the additional rules for this particular scenario, if you get your the sheet out with it on, or the page, there is the Inspire rule. Okay, so every crew has a boss and for the purpose of this game, it's the Penguin or Lieutenant Gordon, okay, for each side, okay. Models, well, henchmen that start their activation within 8 inches of their boss get an additional manipulate action, okay? And that's a big deal, okay? It might not sound much at first, but it is a big deal. You get a lot more things out. So when Mafia Thug started with Audacity, he had a movement action, a special action, a manipulate action from Inspire, and his tactical action from his, well, normal set of actions, okay? So here we go. So first of all, he moved from here. He started within 8 because I made sure of it when I deployed them. He moved back into contact with this sewer marker. He used his freebie Inspire based manipulate to move through the, what's the word? The thingy-me-bob, the sewer marker here, okay? To pop himself down here. He then used his Hitman special action to play the program. Which is a what's the word? It's an objective card. When an enemy reveals a suspect, blah blah blah, he allows him to play it against an enemy model within 8 inches without them having to do the whole removing a suspect malarkey. Okay, so he played it on the GCPD officer who's within 8 inches. Okay. So there you go, using his special thing, his Hitman ability. So he's marked the officer for death. He then used his remaining tactical action to shoot at the GCPD officer. Now, if you remember from the first game or any other games he's been in, he has the shotgun, which is a firearm, medium range, and assault. So he can move it after, so he can shoot after moving with just a -1 to hit penalty rather than losing any dice. Gave him 2 dice. He hit with both of them. The firearm, the strength die needing a 2 for the firearm roll, and he rolled a lovely natural 4 on the to hit roll. The cop's defense is 3, so that was sufficient to hit. Each hit does 2 points of blood and a stun damage, meaning that the GCPD cop took 4 points of blood and 2 points of stun damage. Now, looking at GCPD Officer 1's stat card, you can see that he only has an endurance of 4. So those 4 points of blood damage are actually enough to kill him, which was something of a surprise to me, having forgotten all the stats and whatnot. So there you go. For the time being, I didn't realise he was quite that vulnerable. Now I do. But yes, so he moved through the sewers and opened fire and killed the cop, having taken out a hit on him with the program. That allows this, the actual scoring criteria for this card is when that model is removed as a casualty, score this card. So the actual organised crime crew has taken a surprise early lead with 2 victory points there. So there you go. Really wasn't expecting that myself. So there you are. And there's one last thing to do. The Mafia Thug has used up all of his activations. Let's actually just, pop his marker there so we know he's activated for the turn, although I'm not likely to forget. There is one last thing though, just to recount. Sorry for the extra long activation for him, but I wanted to go through everything. Now we can finally, in this scenario, when scored, gain $100 of black money. Okay, that is an organised crime thing. You won't see this on anyone else's cards. Okay, what it means is the organised crime crew has a little something. They have a list of equipment that comes with their deck. You see it's got costs and all different abilities and whatnot, which I'm not going to go into right now, all of them, but you can look through it at your leisure. It's even if you don't have the starter set, it is available online somewhere. And you can basically buy these little items of equipment for your crew as the game continues, as long as they're nearby your boss, i.e. within inspiration range of him. So yeah, and because they got $100 of black money, I will be marking that on next to their crew sheet or whatever, next to their little set of cards, so I know that they can now start buying themselves stuff as the game goes on. Okay, and that's just another little thing. So as the organised crime crew start scoring their cards, they'll start accruing things to make their gang, their henchmen, more powerful. So there you go. That concludes Mafia Thug's activation. That was a particularly good one. The snitch is still out, but yes, the Batman has lost another ally early on as well. First activation, nasty. Well, let's see what they're going to do about it. So the Batman crew went with Officer Martinez. He was back around here next to Gordon, so he was inspired, much the same as Mafia Thug was before. He used his movement action to get around here, then used his manipulate action from being inspired to pop down a suspect marker. Remember, he's a detective, so he doesn't have to be in base contact. He then used his other tactical action to shoot at Detective Kenzie, the very corrupt Detective Kenzie. Only had 1 dice left after the deductions for moving and shooting, but it was still a hit, and in so doing he played non-lethal ammo, which you remember they just drew, for 2 points. Inflict damage with a ranged attack, but when they do, they have to change all the blood damage to stun damage. Well, so that means instead of 1 blood, 1 stun, he does 2 points of stun to the corrupt detective. Okay, but he does score the 2 points. Okay, and upon scoring that card, as you'll know, they drew another one, okay, to make themselves back up to 4. And that concludes the activation for the Batman crew for now. Okay, go back to the organised crime. Remaining on this side of the board, Detective Kenzie activated for organised crime. He had audacity, so he moved down here with his movement action. He used his special action, which is called, I beg your pardon for having to move over here, Shady Dealings. Sorry, should have been prepared with that. Shady Dealings. It allows you to discard 2 objective cards from the hand, which they did. The organised crime crew got silted up a little bit with some cards which were a little bit useless at this range, so you managed to refresh. 2 cards is really good. This model is powerful. He then used his detective ability and his manipulate action to pick up this suspect marker to remove it from the board. Right, doing so enabled 2 things. First of all, he was able to play Paying Tribute. Play this card when a friendly model reveals an enemy suspect. Well, he now has to put a suspect marker down within 4 inches of a friendly boss. Well, that's currently Penguin over there. Okay, so a bit of an ask to get him all the way back there, but we do have sewers on the board, and you know, who knows, he may just make it. At the end of the day, it may well just distract the Batman crew from going anywhere else if they have to hunt this guy down. Okay, and he also enabled him as a resource to play the spring cleaning card. So as a resource, you can play that as well as playing the objective as well for a different card. So there you go. So for 1 resource, when revealing an enemy suspect, choose another enemy suspect or friendly marker and move it 4 inches. Okay, and that enabled him to move the snitch, which was just played down here and is a suspect marker to all intents and purposes, and it enabled him to, light reflection, to move it over here closer to Mafia Thug. Remember, snitches only score if they're at the end of the turn, they're further than 4 inches away from the enemy. So that objective, that playing that as a resource, may well have just saved the organised crime crew a 3-point deficit. Okay, so there you go. Although that is Detective Kenzie's activation. He didn't do any damage, but he did manage to go through 4 cards out of the hand, out of the objective card hand that is, and possibly shut down a snitch as well. So pretty good altogether. So you get the idea. It's not all about damaging your opponent. You've got a lot of things you can do which to mess around with their objectives, mess around with their scoring, and you know, that's what that is absolutely vital as well, especially in crews where you have a lot of models around. You can afford to have some models do the whole running, running interference, and others doing the damage. So there you go. Right, well, back to Batman crew. Just very briefly as an addendum to that last little take there with Officer Kenzie, I forgot he had the evidence tampering rule, which allows him actually to put down a suspect marker of his own when he does this. Okay, so when he reveals an enemy suspect marker, he can put one down of his own as well. So there you go, even more weight to his activation just now. Okay, just thought I'd throw that in. I knew there was something I've forgotten, so I do forget things, you know, even I'm not infallible. Okay, now back. Lieutenant Gordon activated next. Yes, the Batman crew is not unblessed with pass markers, so they could have teased out some more activations from the organised crime, but they have plans themselves. They activated, and he first of all used his support special trait to give Batman an additional action. Batman opted to moved all the way around here, has a bat cape, didn't have to take any problems for any minus movement for falling off there. He moved around to here, and he still has his full activation to go in a minute. Yes, so Gordon is just about there, and yes, that's he put down a suspect marker as well, so he's used all of his activations on this particular phase as well. No cards to play though, unfortunately, so there you go. We're going to be going back now to the organised crime crew. Bouncer 2 activated, stepping out of the shadows into the light, and he did not have Audacity, don't forget, but he was still inspired by the Penguin's presence being within 8 inches at the start of his activation. So even though he didn't have Audacity, he moved out to here and used his manipulate action wisely to pop down a suspect marker. So there you go. Inspire is a great rule, allows you to get things out of your crew members even if they don't have Audacity. It's very useful for the crews that tend to have more models than not, such as Organised Crime, Penguin, even Joker. Anyway, right, so that's that. Back to the Batman crew. Well, pulling no punches, the Batman swooped into action. Right, so first of all, he moved into base contact with Detective Kenzie, and who was quickly pummeled into submission and KO'd. The Batman using his I'm Vengeance trait to get an extra 2 dice when he put 1 point of effort in. After that, because Kenzie was no longer able to use his Protect the Shadows trait due to being unconscious and all, Batman used his Vigilante's Work trait to pick up the suspect marker, the red. Remember, it's like a red one with black footprints for the organised crime. So he picked that one up, and used another Vigilante's Work based effort to make another manipulate action to put down another one of his own. So kind of like swapsies for the suspect markers once again. But yeah. That enabled, so having revealed an enemy suspect marker, it enabled him to score Comb Through Everything from the hand, which we saw him pick up before. 2 points, reveal enemy suspect, and it enabled him to draw 2 additional objective cards and pick, okay, which one they get to keep. So there you go. So there's this card has great utility in your deck. It enables you to cycle that a little bit more when you score it. So there you go. And also, because Batman had Unveiling the Truth played upon him at the beginning of the turn, so he now has more markers on this card for picking up the suspect than there is for there are enemy suspect markers in play. He scores this immediately. You see the little diamond scoring, for scoring time next to the 2 there. Okay, that means it scores as soon as you meet the criteria at some point in the game, and he has just now. So that is a 4-point activation and an unconscious model for them. So this Batman model really can do make up for the shortage of numbers in your crew by not only punching people out but also by scoring. Finally, one thing to relate though, when Batman did pick up the suspect marker that Kenzie had put down just now, the organised crime crew played the program from their hand. So an enemy model reveals a suspect, he is now marked. Batman is now marked, and they'll score 2 points when they take him off the board as a casualty, organised crime. So although Batman is the hardest model on the board by a stretch, he's not indestructible, and this might give some, even if they don't score the card, playing it on him might give the Batman crew some pause for thought before jumping him into the middle of the enemy crew. Or not, we'll see. He is Vengeance after all. But there you go, another full activation there. I'm sort of doing this on purpose, but also I like the interesting plays myself when I play it normally anyway. So I just wanted to show off the rules. This is about as complicated as the game gets. I just want you to be aware of that. If you're overwhelmed at this point, be aware there's lots of simpler activations you can do. I'm showing you deliberately sort of like in-depth complicated ones with multiple card plays and all sorts of hoo-ha going on. There's a lot of depth here, but overall I think, again, if you're overwhelmed at the moment, play it a few times, you will certainly get it. It's a really, really simple, straightforward thing to get on. I'm playing both crews, of course, so I've got twice as much to keep track of, which is probably why it sounds like there's a lot going on. But yeah, when it's 1 versus 1, especially if you're both sort of learning, you can both help each other out, it's a lot simpler. Anyway, back to organised crime. They've had their first model taken out. Well, organised crime kept it simple again with the second twin going. He didn't have Audacity, so there's a limit to what he could do. Because he was inspired, he moved up and popped down another suspect marker. It had to be at least 4 inches away from the existing one, and it certainly is. So there you go. There's some teasy suspect markers out for the organised crime crew. Maybe they're just trying to make it harder for the Batman to score Unveiling the Truth again in future turns. That's certainly annoying. So there you go. Right, that's basically it for the organised crime crew. We're going to go back to the Batman. The Batman crew finally decided to use one of their 3 pass markers, so it went back to organised crime. So Bouncer 1 scurried up the stairs, bit onto the roof here, a bit dangerous, and popped down a suspect marker of his own. Much like these friends, he didn't have audacity, but he was inspired by the Penguin, so he was able to pop down a suspect marker. Okay, so yeah, that concludes his activation. Let's see if Batman finally wants to do anything. Well, Stop Cop, otherwise known as GCPD Officer 2, did activate next, and she popped herself down here. She did have audacity. She used her tactical action to put down a suspect marker, and she then used her special action to halt the mafia thug. Doesn't do anything really for the purpose of the rest of the turn, except give him a -4 inches movement counter, which will come into the play next time he tries to move, so it's probably worth it after all. And yes, there you go, that concludes all of the Batman crew's activations. We're just going to run through the remaining 2 models for the organised crime crew. Okay, the actual Penguin didn't have much to report really. He moved forwards, and that's pretty much it for his activation. He does look pretty exposed here. If I just zoom out a little bit, he's at the front, etc. But don't forget his Protect Me trait allows him to unload hits onto other models nearby, so it's got him here. He's also well placed to give inspiration to this guy, and the twin over here. So you know he's pretty well suited, and he could just about draw a bead on Lieutenant Gordon, but he's only got 2 rounds of ammunition, and it probably would have lost so many dice as to be unworkable. So yeah, decided just to hold up there for now. Wasn't in range to use any of his real traits, to be honest, and couldn't order anyone to put down a suspect marker because they already had them nearby. So that's him done. The twin had a bit more of an eventful turn. He had audacity. He was over here. He used he was inspired. He used the sewer marker to pop himself through here, popped down a suspect marker with his basic tactical action, and then used his widespread corruption rule to special trait to swap the suspect marker which the cop had just put down for one of his own. Haha, sneaky. That is widespread corruption. So yes, that is actually kind of annoying. I'd forgot he had that. So there you go. And that concludes his activation. So that concludes everyone's activations actually. So right, we now need to go and what's the word? Pop down, yes, and do the recount phase, for which I will return and, well, recount to you. Okay, back in a minute. Well, plenty to relate. In the recount phase, first of all, recovery happens. Every model which has a stun marker on it takes one off, and well, has at least one stun marker, should I say, on it, takes one off. Right, Kenzie actually woke up from being knocked out, so he's merely knocked down with 1 point of willpower remaining. Okay, in terms of who scored what cards, let's start with the Batman. The Snitch did not score for one of the few times it didn't actually, for 3 points, because the organised crime crew had to move the Snitch over here, and there's only been 4. So yes, the Snitch goes on the discard pile. Unscored. Okay, paying tribute for the organised crime crew as well as the program are both still in progress. They don't have a time limit until the end of the turn. They will stay out until such time as they become either impossible to score, i.e. Kenzie's removed as a casualty or something, or the end of the game, you know, basically, or until they do score it. Okay, so yes, that's what the organised crime crew is pretty good for. Although they don't have many race away and start scoring cards, you know, get an early lead and then it becomes unassailable, that kind of thing. They tend to have a lot of cards out and bubbling away as plots throughout the course of the game, which can score, you know, which they accrue and then they'll score like en masse towards the end or something. They're very cool and sneaky like that. People think they're a weak crew because they don't just like score things like the Snitch or get them off the streets, but no, they can accrue points quite quickly when they get going. Don't worry about that. And they certainly have enough models in their crew to make it happen. Anyway, shut up, Lee. Anything else to relay on? No, not really. There were no cards to play from either crew's hand, much to the chagrin of the Batman crew, who had Secure the Perimeter in their hand, which is the one where remove 2 friendly suspects within 2 inches of the gaming area edge, which they'd have done now. If only with this one, if only this one had still been one of their suspect markers, but it wasn't, so they can't. Unfortunately for them. Yes, all that dicking around, all that messing around trying to make sure there were suspect markers, within 2 inches of board edges, and it came to naught in the end because of the shenanigans that this organised crime crew can do. Right, that's that for the end of round 1. We're going to go into round 2 now. The last thing that both crews have done is discarded 1 card from their hands and of course then drawn back up to 4. What happens then is all the cards that were played as resources, all the cards that failed to score during the course of the turn, all the cards that were cycled, for example, everything in the discard pile now gets shuffled back into the objective deck. So yes, potentially they could keep drawing the same card again and again and again as the game goes on. That is a very real possibility. Okay, so yes, it keeps the hands fresh. You never quite know whether a card's going to come up. Okay, right, let's go and get into round 2. Right, well, take the lead and raise the plan phases both completed for round 2. Okay, so plenty to recount. The Batman crew easily won the initiative in the take the lead phase because they had so many. Well, they had some passes left over at the end, but yeah, so there you go. So they have initiative again this round. In the second phase, Raise the Plan, well, no cards played by the Batman crew this time. However, the organised crime crew managed to play, first of all, Secure the Drop, which is the Penguin's own card, played now at score at the end of the turn. They've targeted 3 friendly suspects. These cannot be picked up or moved or dicked around with, well, revealed or removed this round. They have to have more friendly models within 4 inches of at least 2 of these markers at the end of the round in order to score the 3 lovely points. And given that they have such a numerical advantage over the Batman crew, that's easier for them than it would for other crews be. They went with this marker here with these 2 guys. They went with this one over here and this one over here. Okay, so that's that. All right. So yeah, they've got a nice deep cover there. So yes, pretty good. And secondly, they played Recovering the Juice, another card played in this phase. Scores at the end. Target a friendly model. Well, they've gone with Mafia Thug just here. And that model reveals an enemy suspect and is still in the gaming area at the end of the turn. So there you go. He has to be not be killed basically or arrested by the end of the turn. So there you go, another 3-pointer there potentially for organised crime. Like I said, lots of cards that stick around on the the sideboard, shall we say, waiting to hopefully be scored. And yeah, basically plots within plots. But that's that, and now we're just going to say who's got Audacity for the turn. Well, everyone on the Batman crew obviously has Audacity because they only have 4 models. For the organised crime crew, the Penguin has it, these 2 henchmen at the back, and the Mafia Thug has it as well. Alright, that concludes the first 2 phases. We're now going to get back to activating models and scoring cards. Let's do it. Officer Martinez activated first. He had some things to do, so he moved up into base contact with Detective Kenzie. With his tactical action, he easily knocked him back out again. Remember, knocked down models have very limited defensive abilities. Yeah, it was very straightforward to knock him out, doing 1 point of stun damage with an unarmed attack. And then he used his special action to arrest Detective Kenzie. Oops, sorry, picking him up off the board. The arrest active action allowed him to get them off the streets for 3 points, arrest a model, instant score, 3 points. Lovely jubbly, and more points for the Batman crew. And then finally, as Martinez was within 8 inches at the start of his activation from Lieutenant Gordon, albeit through the lorry, he was still inspired, and it enabled him to put down a suspect marker as well. So there you go, a nice full activation for Officer Martinez, and that concludes his activation. Okay, right, that's that, and we're going to go see what Organised Crime Crew can do. They've just lost their first model. Well, the first thing that the organised crime crew wanted to do was get some revenge. So they activated Mafia Cop. First of all, he used his second of 3 points of ammunition to open fire with his shotgun on Stop Cop, doing 2 hits, taking 4 of her 5 endurance points away and 2 points of stun into the bargain. Didn't finish her off though. She has a bit more damage to take even than the last cop. So yeah, she's still alive, albeit just about. Yeah. He then moved forwards. Despite having impaired 4-inch movement, he was able to limp forward to here. He picks up this suspect marker with his backpack. Don't forget, he has a backpack on his traits, which gives him a free reveal action, which is what he's using. So there you go. Despite being he's clearly not in Inspire range, he did still get an extra manipulate action because of his traits. He was able to pick up that suspect marker, so that'll meet the recovering the juice criteria for later, hopefully, if he's still alive on the board. Also from the hand, paying tribute was played once again for him. So if he now places a suspect marker within 4 inches of the current friendly boss, they'll score that 2 points for the organised crime crew as well. So lots of points tied up in this guy. So there we are, and that is his activation done and done. Okay, we're going to go back to the Batman crew. Foolish move for Penguin, but bear with me. He was over here, he had audacity. He's moved out on his own and then opened fire on Gordon. It wasn't such a stupid idea really at the beginning, because he played Message Job from his hand as a resource to reduce Gordon's defense by 1, putting him down to a defense of 2. So with 3 dice remaining after the movement from shooting penalty, he needed to get 2 or more on each die and that would have killed Lieutenant Gordon, which would probably have been to the benefit of over leaving him exposed. However, the Batman crew, for 2 resource points of their own play, get them off the streets, cancel an objective card used as a resource. So that cancelled out Message Job. So Gordon remained on defense 3. It was still a bit of a bum clenching moment, but only 2 of the hits went through. Crucially, it was a 2 rolled, which with the difference between life and death. And yeah, so 4 points of blood damage instead of 6, which would have killed the lieutenant. And so yes, he's still alive, and Penguin is exposed, albeit he has done a lot of damage to the good lieutenant. So yeah, so yes, so 2 resources played, no cards played as objectives, however, nothing quite on the offing there, and so there we go. Right, back to the Batman crew. Oh, sorry, the fact that the organised crime crew went again, sorry, is because the Batman crew used a pass. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Yes, they passed, so it went back to organised crime crew again. Well, not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Batman activated next. He used his back claw to move a total of 16 inches over the truck and into combat with the newly exposed Penguin. The Penguin and then moved to attack him in close combat. He then, before he did so, he used the evidence mounts as a resource for the last resource point of the turn, so no more resource cards can be played by the Batman crew this round. A friendly model, the Alias Batman, as in this model here, can make 2 free extra efforts each time it attacks or defends this round. So 2 free efforts for the remainder of the round for every attack or defense. So that's pretty good, especially when you mix it in with the I'm Vengeance trait, giving him 2 extra dice per effort instead of just the 1. So yes, needless to say, Penguin put in maximum effort in terms of 3 points of stun damage to reduce the incoming attack pool. Batman put 1 in just to recoup the balance and gets himself some extra dice into the bargain. The savage ass pounding that followed saw the Penguin easily knocked out altogether, okay, and KO'd. All right. Having done that, the Batman then used Vigilante's work with an extra point of effort there, you can see, and he's going to pick up this suspect marker using his detective ability. That scores comb through everything from the hand of the Batman crew for another 2 points. So yes, another successful activation there from the Batman, and the Penguin is out for the count. That's nasty for him. Yeah, so there we go. That's it for the organised crime crews. Well, that's for their boss, and well, he's still KO'd. He's still technically the boss. While he's on the board, he's still the boss. If he gets taken away, then we have to nominate someone to replace him. But let's not get ahead of ourselves yet, okay? Well, the only thing they could really muster up in response was Bouncer 1 moving down into base contact with the Batman. That's all he's really got at the moment though, so that's him done and done for now. Back to the Batman crew, see what they can get up to. The grievously wounded Lieutenant Gordon activated next. He had a full set of actions because he obviously had Audacity. First of all, he moved, hopping the fence for impaired movement to just go here. He then put down a suspect marker with his tactical action to be the snitch. Yes, another one of the snitches. Hopefully this will either pull the organised crime crew models out of or formation a bit more, or it will well, it will allow it will allow him to score 3 points, which is always good. He popped himself here because he is now within 8 inches to inspire this young lady, Stop Cop, when it's her activation, when she starts her activation, and he's still within 8 inches to put in an extra, to order the Batman to support, and the Batman is actually going to lay into the Penguin because it's fun. I'll actually do that live. Haha. So Batman, he's not going to put any effort in apart from the 2 freebie efforts he gets from playing the evidence mounts earlier. So he's going to get, what's the word? He's going to get 6 lovely attack dice and the strength die. Penguin is hit on 2s because he is -1 to his defense of 3 for being KO'd, and he can't defend himself. Every single one of these dice which hits will cause a point of blood damage. So let's see what happens. There you go. So the strength die is the white one, of course. That wins on a 3. Yes, every single one of these would normally do stun damage, which is fine, but against knocked out models, remember, you cause 1 point of blood damage as well. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of blood damage. That is 1 dead Penguin. Well, dead, he's been hospitalized quite abruptly and quite seriously, and Batman just says, "I'm vengeance." And yes, there you go. Oof, I wasn't quite expecting it to be that brutal, but yes, that takes the Penguin out of the running. Immediately, the organised crime crew needs to select a new boss, who will be someone I'll choose in a moment when I've had a chance to think. Okay, that new boss will not have the full inspire. He'll only have an inspire radius of 4 inches for the remainder of the game because he is not a leader model. All right. Anyway, enough of that. That is an activation. Batman just brutalized someone, but he did it upon the say-so of the GCPD, which makes it okay. Okay. Right. Let's go back to the organised crime crew. After a little bit of arguing, especially between them, the twins have opted for twin number 1 to be the new crew, the boss of the crew, shall I say. Didn't stop him from ordering the baseball bat bouncer over here into combat with the Batman, who had 2 free efforts on defense because of the evidence mounts card, but nonetheless the Batman was outnumbered, being in base contact with 2 organised crime crew models, which reduced his defense to 3. The bouncer put in 3 points of effort himself, and I forgot, he gets an extra die because he's a mobster. He gets an extra die when he attacks someone in close combat who is outnumbered. And yes, hitting on 3s, he hit with every single attack, and Batman, despite blocking with them all, took 4 points of stun, which is sufficient to KO him. With the accrued damage he's taken over the course of the game so far, the Batman has just given too much, shall we say. And yes, so the Batman is KO'd at the hands of 2, well, at the feet, shall we say, of 2 vicious mobsters here. So yeah, that's not good for the Batman crew. He's not supposed to get KO'd, but maybe it'll only be temporary. But yeah. So there you go. Like I said, this Batman model is very capable of being taken out. It's not he's not the hardest of them all, basically. But yeah, so that's an interesting turn, isn't it? So right, we're going to go back to the Batman crew, see what happens next. Stop Cop had a fairly active turn. She first of all, she was over here, recall. She first of all picked up this suspect marker which belonged to the organised crime crew, and because she was inspired, she popped one down of her own accord. She then used her halt ability, or stop, to put the kibosh on twin 1 here. He gets -4-inch movement counter, and and she moved over here to be a bit more supportive to her beleaguered boss. Okay, make him a little bit less restricted in what he can do next turn if he still wants to inspire her. Okay, and that concluded her activation. I don't think it tied in. No, they didn't have any cards to play on this particular occasion, unfortunately, for the Batman crew. So that is her done and done. In fact, that's the entire Batman crew done and done. We're just going to finish off all the mobsters, okay, for the organised crime crew. There wasn't too much to report on, unfortunately. This guy was on -4 inches movement, so could only really move forward 4, but he wanted to be close to this drop marker anyway. And likewise for the other twin, who did have audacity, didn't have an awful lot to do with it, unfortunately. He just moved forward again. He could have used the sewer marker to go and interfere with this snitch, but again, the drop markers need to be respected, so in order to score some points. So yeah, it was a tough decision, and unfortunately I might have misplayed a little bit for the organised crime crew there overall over the course of the turn. I think losing the penguin threw me a little bit, so yeah, oh well, never mind. That concludes all the models activations for this particular round. That's the end of round 2. Going to go to the recount phase now, see if anyone's scored any cards and whatnot. Okay, be back with you in just a moment. Okay, right, recount phase is done. The important thing to relay is that the Batman, with his fairly, actually average willpower of 7, failed to come around from being unconscious, so he would still be down and at the mercy of the Penguin's crew, well, the Penguin's thugs for the organised crime crew, of course. So yeah, that's a tough one. But who scored what? Well, in the end phase, the Batman crew did manage to score this snitch, because there's no enemies within 4 inches of it, so they get that 3 points. They secure the perimeter finally for 2 points. They pick up this suspect marker here and this one over here, okay, to fulfill the criteria for that. As you can see, 2 points again, so that's 5 points for them scored. As you can see, the Batman crew scores a steady trickle of points throughout the course of the game. There's very little you can do to stop them. They're a tough crew to beat, don't get me wrong. For the Penguin crew's side, they definitely scored secure the drop for 3 lovely points, because they have more friendly models within 4 inches of at least 2 of these markers. Well, there's one there and there's one over here. So they score the 3 points. Also, recovering the juice scores for another 3 points. Target friendly model. That's the Mafia Thug is still in the gaming area, having picked up a suspect marker right at the beginning. So 6 points scored there for the organised crime crew. It doesn't look like they've scored that many overall, but trust me, they have a whole bunch more in the way. The Batman is still unconscious, and chances are he'd probably be dead. He'd probably be dead by the end of next turn, when with 2 blokes punching and kicking him, and not much the Batman crew can do to stop them really in terms of force projection. So that would be the program scoring for them next turn. They easily would score the paying tribute, which was on the Mafia Thug, I believe. All he needs to do is pop down a suspect marker. There's the new boss. That would score 2 points. They've got message job in their hand. If I just find it for you. So message job in their hand for another 2 points once they kill the Batman. So yeah, there's a lot of points they will have. I'm going to actually wrap it up now though, because I think I've shown you everything I need to, really. This intro sort of game has had a bit of everything, and I think if you followed everything that's gone on in this particular game, then yeah, you'll know everything that's going on, and you'll be ready to play the game yourself. If you want to see 4 games, I have a whole bundle on this channel, and so I hope that sates your satisfaction for now. But I'm a bit worried that I'm making these introductory games a little bit too long, you know, so I think I will wrap it up now for the whole lot. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got a grasp of how this really good game works. Okay, like I said earlier, some of the interactions and some of the activations you've seen have been about as complex as you can get in this game, okay, with from very few exceptions. Sometimes entire games go past and there isn't quite this level of complexity in some of them, but quite often you'll get little things come up, little combinations of traits and cards in the hand. It's a very reactive game. All the different crews have different ways of manipulating the decks, different ways of interacting with each other. You get some really interesting matchups. I'm thinking Joker and Riddler is a really interesting matchup. When they play each other, things get weird, you know, it's fun. But yeah, it's a good game, this one, and lots of replayability. The more crews you have, the more variety, and lots of different combinations of start happening with every set of 2 crews you play. It's so impressive. Anyway, I'll stop wittering on. Like I said, hope you enjoyed it. If there's any questions at all, anything you think I did wrong, please let me know, especially the wrong bits, because I am not infallible. But anything that you don't understand, anything that makes no sense, anything I might have missed in terms of, well, this should be in the rules, why isn't it, but I just didn't say, just put a comment in there and I'll do my best to answer it. And you know, if you want a good friendly place to go and ask questions, check out the Arkham Rejects Discord, okay? It's a bloody good place to get advice and stuff on this good game, okay? Right then, I will see you. I hope you don't mind me cutting it short. This is an introduction sort of scenario though, okay? I hope you enjoy playing it yourself, okay? I'm Shieldwall100. Please check out the battle reports on my channel if you want more Batman action, and if you want something different, there's a lot of historical content on here as well. Alright, you take care now, and goodbye.